9 podcasts.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of AFLW Weekly. My name is Sarah Burt. I am joined by the lovely Georgie Parker. George, all the way from the Blue Mountains.
Beautiful, 28 degrees. Thought Melbourne, nope, not into it. I'm heading away, but it's the heartland of the Giants. And well, there's a big sound here after an upset from them on the weekend, wasn't there? I need to eat my words. I'm going to put this is my words, and I'm eating them because I did not think that they would win a match. And they've come out and won one. I think there was a lot of people that wouldn't think that they were going to and didn't see where they were going to. The scenes after they won wasn't that outstanding. Their coach talking about how it was one of the best win they've ever been a part of. Really nice thing. So it's fitting that I'm in the Blue Mountains in the Giants country now.
It is indeed. I worked that game and Cam, the coach, was crying, and he also said to the media manager, I got married a few years ago and this is up there with one of the best days. And so you do see how much it means when it's a random round 5 win, but they obviously just feel so much relief. So a lot of that, a lot of other upsets that happened over the round as well, which we're going to get into. This episode is brought to you by Tab.
That's why I'm picky, because I'm just too damn busy. Turn the L's into
Let's
W's.
get into our L's and W's for the week. Georgie, my big W is there is only one team now without a win. I think it is fantastic for the league. It is the Richmond Tigers. We just talked about how GWS got their first win. There was a lot of upsets across the round, which I think also is fantastic for the league. But if you're Richmond, it's a big L. But for everyone else, the league in general, fans, all of us working in footy, I think it is a really good thing that every team almost has a win right now.
Well, I think that the fact we had so many upsets is great, because we were talking last week about how there's such a big difference between the top sides and the bottom sides, and then to see upsets, it makes you go, okay, maybe these things could happen. So I think it was a massive weekend of footy where, I guess it was upset after upset after upset. And the Tigers, well, they need to get on their horses, don't they? And also thanks to everyone for the love about Brendan Favola last week on the pod. He was such a breath of fresh air, as you said. Wasn't a massive win. And you know what, your win kind of leads into mine, which is, I said I had to eat my words about the Giants. I kind of have to do the same about Collingwood as well, because they had an outstanding win at Vic Park on the weekend against the Swans. And you talk about how it's having only one team without a win is great for the league. Well, for me, Collingwood being not bottom of the pack is really important for the league, not just good for the league, but really important because they've got such a huge supporter base, and they're also hated. So like when you get Carlton fans being invested in how they're performing as well, and Essendon fans, and so they are a side that has so much clout. And so if they were to perform, I think it's really good. So my win is Collingwood, not being bottom, getting a really good win against Swans, but also as well the centre progression from her and from where she's come, her first round of footy where she wasn't getting full game times in the minute. She's still not getting full minutes in the midfield, but had 18 touches and 2 goals on the weekend. And this is the generation, she gets a Rising Star nomination as well. So that's the generation of kids that we want to be exciting and on the footy and scoring. And, she's going to be a Chloe Malloy in no time. And, she beat Chloe Malloy at her own game on the weekend. So central progression, getting the Rising Star, and Collingwood who have been building for that win against a good side for a while, I think is so important important. We do not want the big side like Collingwood and Carlton for that matter. It's good to see Carlton good this year as well, because these big sides are so important into the development of the league in terms of new fans coming in, because people love jumping on bandwagons. And so that's what we want. We want to grow the game into the biggest fan base as possible. So that's for me a big win. And I guess that kind of leads into your L, doesn't it, Says?
It does indeed. This week, Vic Park, no good. No good. We've seen issues at Vic Park before, but this week there was a lot of backlash from clubs. If you ask the clubs, there was backlash. If you ask the AFL, there was not. But it was quite evident that the surface wasn't up to scratch. So what I'm talking about is it's a dog park, it's a community ground. That is one of the issues it's sort of a good and a bad thing playing at these community grounds. We discuss so much that we love the vibe of the community and the venues that we play at. But of course, it means that it is open to the public. So on Saturday morning, the Swans are having their run around there, but it's a dog park as well. So they're running around with the dogs. Of course, what comes with dogs is dog poo, and that apparently was everywhere as well. Also, they were having to dodge, while they were doing their captain's run, they were having to dodge line markers who were marking the ground. Apparently, there was some speculation that people were just painting over the dog poo, but there was also this sort of meshing. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was this sort of mesh down one end of the goals, and it's essentially it's dangerous. You could have got your boot caught. You could easily hurt yourself. And that's just, dog poo's one thing, not great. But if we're going to have players injured, that's bad. And the other thing is, we've seen before at Vic Park, they've painted over to make it more aesthetic. They've painted over sand to make it look like grass, but they actually requested. The Swans requested.
So Vic Park is my local dog park. So I was literally there the day before, and they're line marking, and I'm there with my dog, and I'm being a responsible dog owner, picking my dog shit up. And I'm there thinking, there would be people that do not do this. There is a game tomorrow. They're filling in holes with sand because there's holes there. My dog comes home green because you're right. They make it greener by painting rather than looking at having the grass actually to stand it. And we have all these other local grounds, but they're, I guess, protected a little bit more than a proper local footy park. I will say, the VFL men play on there, so I guess they do say it's up to standard to what is considered VFL men. But don't forget, was it 2 years ago the Collingwood men trained there? One of the boys did their ankle, and then suddenly they're never training there ever again. So it probably isn't up to the standard that you need for an AFLW game. And it is disappointing. I'm literally walking around there thinking, I cannot believe they play this. They get it up. I actually think, given what it comes from during the weeks leading up to these W games, but into it, it's actually they do probably a pretty good job given what's in front of them. But I think this has been a problem for some time. And I don't know how to get away from it, because the Collingwood team don't have, unless they're playing at their home ground at the whatever it's called, centre now, changes names every 2 years.
I believe.
Where do they do it? Where do they play their home games? So, and this is one of those hard ones for Collingwood, because they don't have Icon Park like Carlton or Arden Street like North Melbourne or anything like that. So they're in a little bit of trouble with where they can play these women's matches. And I wrote an article a while back saying, and it's going to lead to your shortly of why Marvel's not being used, but you need some more investment into these local grounds to have more boutique size and some facilities that are just purely for the women, that aren't then being shared by not just the men but the public.
Yeah, well, we know that it is in the works. Next year Vic Park is undergoing a big renovation, so we know that that's happening, but I still think you can't you can't have players playing in an unsafe venue just because it's about to get renovated. It needs to be safe. And the Swans actually did request that they don't paint over the sand so that the players know where it's not grass and they can avoid it if they need to. So, I mean, I spoke to the AFL and they said the ground was all ticked off on our end. There were no issues. We haven't received any formal complaints from clubs. They've also said, as you saw when we moved the West Coast game in round 1, if there are any concerns for player safety, we will move the game. I don't know if clubs making formal complaints, I'm not sure if that, I don't know if that's the truth, but they probably can't be bothered because there's so many issues surrounding the game that you'd be complaining every week probably. That leads me to, let's discuss your L.
So mine is kind of going into where this theme's going. So mine is no footy on Thursday night for me was a massive miss from the AFL. We've had Thursday night footy in the men's all season. And then we get to the week where there's only 2 men's matches. People are used to turning on the footy on a Thursday night and having footy on the screens, and we didn't have it. You had opportunity to highlight, and, you know, you could have put the North Melbourne-Brisbane match on from last weekend there, for example, that some really high-quality football on a match that would have had all the audience watching. Everybody used to flicking it on just by out of habit, habitual watchers. And so I think that's a massive miss from the AFL. That there was no Thursday night footy. It's one of the highest rating days of footy, that and Friday night footy. And we didn't have Friday night W because obviously we've got the finals on. And so why couldn't we have a standalone women's match on Thursday night into the footy finals? I think it's a massive miss from the AFL, and one that maybe, you know, again, it just makes you question the investment on what they really want to do and the thought process behind everything. And, you know, are we being dictated to by the broadcasters a little bit? I mean, sometimes I think the AFL should be a little bit more pushy with, no, we want this. And Thursday night footy for me would have been absolutely perfect for that, and goes into your of where it could have been.
Things that make you go, things that make you go.
Exactly right. So, as you mentioned, there was no footy on Thursday or Friday night for us. And we just discussed that Vic Park, although the AFL are saying it was safe to play on, it would appear that there would have been better options. Let's just put it that way. There is a better option, and the AFL own it. It is Marvel Stadium, which is completely free. Before we enter into this, people are going to say, it's money, it's all this stuff. No, the AFL own it. The amount of money that they put into trying to fix these shoddy grounds that clearly aren't up to standard, bringing the food trucks in, I mean, I know it's not going to be as much as paying people to staff Marvel Stadium, but they own it. So I don't understand. I mean, I'm not a commerce expert, but I don't understand why they can't absorb those costs and save on having to fix up these venues that aren't up to scratch. Just have it at Marvel. And this morning I did a sit down with Marley Silver, who runs our sister podcast NRLW Weekly, and she was completely, like, she's just shocked that the women do not play at Marvel Stadium or the MCG. She didn't know that, and she was like, she could not believe it. But I'm not saying we have to play every game at Marvel Stadium. I'm saying if there is a ground that is genuinely unsafe for people to be playing at, and it's owned by the AFL, and it's not going to affect the men's finals, which we know is the priority at the moment, I don't know why it wasn't there. And it annoys me. It really annoys me.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, in the league comparison, because the stadiums are so much smaller, it seems, you know, some of their men's stadiums are 15, 20,000 people capacity. So it makes more sense for them to be on there. But I'm completely with you on this, by the way, says. And I remember going we went into the AFL house earlier in this season, you know, and kind of spoke about this. And I said to them, we're the only league in the country that doesn't let our women play on the main stadiums. Women's Big Bash get to play in the MCG. You get rugby league get to play in there. You get WNBL get to play occasionally in the bigger stadiums in Rod Laver and whatnot. You have A-League Women's gets to play on Amy Park. Why are we the only one? And whether we own it, by the way, as a league, why do we not put ours there? It's a really confusing one because it just seems they're so hell-bent on saying no to that, and it seems like one of the most obvious things to do. I don't understand it, and it, again, put some marquee matches on there, and then also see the product improve, and then maybe you will want to do more. So I completely agree with you, particularly this week was a perfect example. No Thursday night footy, where's eyeballs? It's going to have a lot of people watching. Put a Thursday night marquee match on Marvel Stadium. So it's confusing, and it's probably one that we haven't fixture bashed all season. So well done for us taking 5 weeks to start fixture bashing. But it's confusing. It's really confusing because it seems as though there's an easy solution. So I'm with you on that one. It's a big head scratcher.
It is. And just quickly speaking of fixture bashing, while we're on that, I've missed it, so let's get into it. But I think what doesn't make sense to me as well is when we have 2 men's finals with AFLW games happening in the same state as those finals, why, again, could you not, if the issue is finding grounds that are available or up to scratch for the women, there's already a game happening there. Why can't we have the women's game beforehand? Again, make it make sense.
Now, there's a devil's advocate to this, which little Abby from her way highlighted to me with this, because I'm with you on that, and I think big picture stuff there is it should be there.
Sorry,
but little
come into the room.
my dog come in to say hi. But little devil's advocate is that it then is locking out and pricing out a big percentage of your fans, because AFL finals ticket prices are not something that most people can afford to begin with. So there is an argument that I can see why that is, and then to be getting people out and then clearing them out after watching the women's match to come back in. So I do understand with that. However, what works with the league with those double headers in finals time is because you're getting a 2-for-1 grand final ticket price. Yeah, so I see both arguments to that, and I think in terms of growing the game for the greater good, there's still another 7 matches you can go to or be watching that aren't those ones but prior to the men's matches. But that is a devil's advocate that probably, I guess, sometimes needs to be heard. Because that does make sense. And I wouldn't have probably thought of it because I'm privileged with getting gifted tickets or being able to afford the tickets. So then when I hear that, I go, okay, I need to sometimes flip my mindset a little bit to what is the mass wanting. And the AFLW fans are probably very loyal fans that don't want to be priced out by AFL finals ticket prices.
Yep, that's very true. This week's guest is Sabrina Frederick, who has been part of the league since inception. She's a real figurehead of the league, and if you've ever watched AFLW over the past 10 seasons, you will know exactly who she is. Straight off the back of a big win over the Swans on the weekend, one of many upsets that we have discussed. She's twice been named All-Australian and was included in the AFL Players Association's 22 under-22 team. Off the field, she's known for her work in sports psychology and is a big role model for the LGBTQI community. She's also a mum of 2 children, and her career is marked by resilience, a willingness to embrace new challenges, and an infectious passion for the game. I will also say an infectious personality. She is fantastic for the game and has this real love for the community around it. Sabrina was born in England and is now obviously in Australia, and I think we are really excited to have a big chat to her about her professional AFLW career, which started in Brizzy and is now at Collingwood. So please welcome Sabrina Frederick. Sabs, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to start with a broad question. You've been around since the start, and what we are seeing happening this season is so exciting, particularly with so many of the young players. You guys have got you've got the number 1 draft pick, Ash Centra. It is just so exciting, the development in this league. How do you feel in general as someone that's been around since inception when you look back on the past 10 seasons?
Oh, it's amazing. Firstly, thank you for having me, but it's been huge. I mean, 10 seasons I feel like have gone by in a blink of an eye, but it's pretty amazing. Like when I think about, 10 more seasons from now, when, those players like Ash, Centra and Lucy, like they're going to be where I am now, to think that every single girl that will be playing football would have been playing, probably from they were 4 or 5 it's amazing to think about. I mean, even just watching the way that those girls attack training and how they attack games, you can understand that it's been in their lifetime where AFLW has existed. They've always had this idea that they could play at the highest level, and you can see that in the way that they go about things. They've obviously started things a lot sooner. But it's just super exciting. Like I love it. It challenges me at training as well. But it just reminds me like why I got into it in the first place. Like I love the fact that, trailblazer gets thrown around a lot, and sometimes people don't like the burden of it. But, for me, I see it as a massive privilege to be able to do something for a generation and to leave a mark on a country with a national code of now playing both women's and men. So, yeah, it's been awesome.
Which you absolutely are doing. From a wider perspective, you are a mum. How does it feel to be raising children in this environment where women's sport in general is going to be normalised in their lifetime? Hopefully we reach, full equality is a very broad statement, but how does it feel as a mum to know that that's the world that they're going to grow up in?
Oh, mum of 2 now. I have a son and a daughter. And I think that's pretty amazing, knowing that, they'll grow up and knowing that, if AFL was in their foresight or dreams, that both would have the opportunity. Like that's pretty amazing, knowing they'll both grow up with that. And it will be so normal. Like they won't, they wouldn't even remember a time where it wasn't like that. And I think what's so special is AFL is the national code. Like it's Australia's game. And I think that's pretty cool now that those two are going to grow up in a world where the national code is inclusive of everybody. And who knows, they might not want to pursue AFL, but I think just knowing they'll grow up in a world where it doesn't matter, like it's inclusive and everyone has opportunity is pretty exciting. And I'm just super proud, like obviously as a mum, but just really proud of the country of having a national code that is inclusive of both.
Now let's talk about the Pies. Great win on the weekend. I worked with Rubes on Sunday, and classic Rubes, she's like, we're on for finals, we're good to go, like let's roll through. But really, you guys did send a message to the league. Beating the Swans was a really big deal. Did you feel like that was sort of breaking the damn wall, like that was coming? And how did you guys feel after that win?
Yeah, obviously, I think externally there was definitely talk around it being a bit of an upset and things like that. But I think internally we were really confident going into that game. I think the last few weeks, even though we haven't gotten results on paper, I think hasn't really shown the whole story of how far we've actually come in the last, 7-8 months. So I think we definitely went into that game super, super confident. We played Melbourne, played our way, almost got the win there. And then the week later played, the reigning premiers who, at the moment seems to be playing their own sort of game. But, they had been blowing teams out by 100 points, and we kept them to about 30 points, and it was a super challenging game at times. So I think for us internally, it was just, if we keep playing the way that we're playing, we're going to get the results. And when we got the win, it was exciting because in the end of the day, we want to win. We're all competitors. Like, obviously, that Melbourne game, even though we played the way we wanted to, we still didn't win. And that is frustrating. So it was definitely really exciting to actually get that win and then feel like you're getting the reward for the effort.
For sure. And you talk about sort of this, you didn't use the word rebuild, but last season was really tricky for you guys. And evidently things are going better this season. You've had a bit of change in coaching and leadership, and obviously brought in some new players as well. Culturally, how have things shifted within the club for you guys this season?
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of change. I feel like the mindset has been different of, people accepting that in terms of being the best team in the league, there's a lot of things that we have to just do and play role. And that's players, that's staff, and we all had a review at the end of the year and had a look at ourselves and thought, where are we now and where are the top teams and how do we close that gap as soon as possible? And a lot of it just came down to execution, being really honest. I think in football all the time, we throw around buzzwords and we talk about a lot. And we do a lot of education, but it's actually going out there and doing the things and not complaining about things and just executing and doing your role and doing your bit. And I think that's just how we've been able to play the last few weeks is really everybody understanding their role and executing on it.
Yeah. Speaking about education and buzzwords, obviously, in the men's game, there's been a lot of public issues raised around. We've seen everything. We've seen racism. We've seen homophobia. Sometimes, for me personally, sometimes it feels like things just aren't getting better. But something that I love about working in the women's game is it is so inclusive and everyone feels like they are welcome. I would love your thoughts on what you think the men's game can learn from how inclusive and how welcoming we are as an AFLW community, how you think we can translate that into the men's game.
I think, to be honest, the biggest thing that I've noticed in AFLW as opposed to the men's competition, and this might just purely be because they've been playing for over 150 years, is even though we're competitive, like we want to beat every team, but we also understand that in this league, we're also a unit. Like, players respect each other. Some are friends. Some live in the same house as each other. Like even though we're competitors and we want to win, we still have this common goal of wanting to grow the game and for it to be the best it can be. And I think there's like this mutual respect amongst teams, amongst clubs. And I feel like maybe because there's been so many years of a gap in the men's, the rivalries are like really thick. And that, to try and have a conversation club to club and be united is a little bit harder, I think. There's a lot more barriers to jump over. And I think, honestly, I think it has gotten better in the men since I started. I just think for me, it's trying to come together on issues as united players and united staff, united clubs on big items. We as AFLW players have always been able to do that quite quickly. Anything that's been raised, we are pretty united, and that helps that we've got people connected to each other. It's not that hard to pick up the phone and speak to someone at Melbourne. For us, I think that over time, as the game develops, that part of it for the men's will get better. But honestly, there's always going to be issues. It's not going to be perfect, but I just think because they've existed for so long, it's like a big company. Like when you think of big companies as opposed to small companies can figure out stuff really quickly because they're small, there's less people. The same with big companies. It's like there's a lot more barriers, a lot more people to get through, and it just takes a little bit longer. And I sort of see that in the men's competition of it's just going to take a little bit longer because they've been existing for such a long time.
Yeah, that's true. when you talk about that one club mentality and banding together as an organisation and staff and a club in general, and that encompasses fans as well. What's been your experience, and either within Collingwood or when you talk to mates who play for other clubs? Do you think that's the way it's going, that the playing groups are banding together more and more, and are we seeing progression in that space?
Yeah, I think definitely amongst the men's and women's programs underneath the club banners, like us at Collingwood, we are super united. Everything that comes up within our club, both programs are across, and we make decisions very quickly under our roof. And a lot of the time we'll have discussions, and we might have difference of opinion, but I think that's the beauty of having two programs underneath one roof. But we at Collingwood do pride ourselves of being really united and coming out with a message that both are happy with. I can't really speak on behalf of other clubs, but I do feel like that's a huge step, like having both programs under the same roof, being connected. I think the next step is then, if big issues arise, clubs being able to communicate to each other and also having that united front, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Looking ahead to the rest of the season, and I will let you go soon because I know you're on school visits at the moment, Greensborough Primary, I believe. Who are you most looking forward to playing against this season, either a team or some of the new young guns? What are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, honestly, I'm really excited for this week against Hawthorn. I feel like the last time we played them, we really didn't play the way we wanted to. And they were on fire last season, and I feel like they're really fun to watch. They're a great challenging team. They're going to challenge the way that we play our football, and we don't shy away from challenges. We love it. So this week I'm really, really looking forward to. In terms of players, like, honestly, last week I was excited to play against Zippy Fish. I'm excited to play against any of those young girls because it's amazing to see. I love it. I love that that draft class has come in and they've just absolutely been tearing it down. So honestly, any team that has gotten one of those girls in it, I'm looking forward to for the rest of the year because they're changing the game. And even though I'm still a competitor and I'm still in the game, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of what they're doing. So, but I still want to win.
Good. And we want to see you guys win. Well, Sabs, thank you so much for giving us your time. I know you're busy, and we so appreciate it. And good luck on the weekend.
Thanks, Sez. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, George, let's get into
it's all brought to
what
you
we're keeping
by
tabs
Tab.
on
And
this
well,
week.
mine is I'm keeping tab on the AFL, and not a bad reason, but they've just obviously announced the State of Origin for the men to be held in February next year, WA against Victoria. So my question is, will they make State of Origin for the W? And I was talking about this with my partner in the car, and I was saying the W have so much more to gain out of the State of Origin than the men do. The men playing a bit of Mickey Mouse tag footy in February before the season, okay, but the W have so much to gain by playing a game of State of Origin. You look at how this works with in league, the W can create their own rivalries, more probably so than the men, because I think that part of the men's gone in our game because they're worth so much money now. They don't want to give up a $1.5 million player that gets injured a month before the season. But the women in February, if you played at State of Origin then, they have, 7 months to get better out of an injury? You can nearly do an ACL and still be okay. So, I think they would go harder. It would be a really, really good endorsement for the league. I really, really would love people to be putting pressure on the AFL. So mine is keeping tabs on the AFL to see whether or not they, really invest in the women's competition and put in a W game. It might be hard given, they're literally in the middle of their off season and proper off season. But that for me is something that could be really, really good.
Yep, they'd do it. The girls would make it happen like they always do.
Wouldn't they?
Yep.
Exactly. What about you?
I'm keeping tabs on Sophie McKay. She is an absolute gun. She just gets better and better every week. Her sister is obviously the captain of the team of the Blues. But I think Soph is someone that we need to be keeping tabs on this season. She was nominated as the rising star of last round. I just think she is part of this dynamo group of young players that have come through and are really changing the game. And she is one that I really think we need to keep tabs on.
And you as a Carlton fan will be watching pretty closely, but I think she'd be pretty close to, I mean, it's a tight race, I think, for the rising star. But I feel as though younger sisters, as a younger sister myself, you're always having to, as a kid, work a little bit harder and learn a few things a little bit earlier. So she probably started at a higher level than her sister because of the learning that you've done from your older sister. So I'm with you. She's an absolute star, one to watch for sure. So that's all brought to you by Tab.
All right, let's have a look at the games we're looking forward to this round. 3AW will be at the Western Bulldogs versus Brisbane Lions at Whitten Oval on Sunday afternoon. Tickets are $15. Under 18s are free. Why would you not get down? Whitten Oval is a fantastic, I really like Whitten Oval, having footy there. It's fun. They have the food trucks there. You sit up on the hill. If it's a nice day, it's just heaven. And you're right in the heart of Footscray. It's very easy to get parking. I'm a big
Get
fan.
some good food.
Yep.
Get some good Vietnamese on the other side.
Yep. I'm a big fan. I'm very much looking forward to that one. Let's look at the actual footy there. Western Bulldogs versus Brisbane Lions, I dare say, might not be the match of the round.
The Doggies, if they can bounce back after what they just performed on the weekend, right? Like sometimes it takes those moments to go, oh, goodness. But it's a tough opposition to do it to. And the Lions, well, where they're sitting at the moment, it's not where they were wanting to be sit. So they could be wanting to make a statement there as well.
Yeah, for sure. We know the Lions straight off the back of, which we haven't yet discussed, losing to North Melbourne. So that was the first time that the runner-up of the year before's grand final have lost the grand final rematch. So they'll be pretty, I imagine they'll be a bit hurt by that, but we know that North Melbourne are pretty unstoppable. They're sitting way above everyone else on the ladder. One game that I am very much looking forward to seeing is the Kangaroos versus Carlton. First and third, as I just said, I feel like the Kangas are pretty impossible to beat. The last 17 wins would suggest so. But Carlton are in a really good place at the moment. And that's at Arden Street, which is another fantastic venue. That's on Saturday. I think this is going to be a really good one if I was a betting person, I'd say the Kangaroos are going to win their 18th game in a row, but we know that the Blues are having a good season. People like we just discussed, Sophie McKay, Poppy Scholes, I think it's going to be really exciting to see where they match up against the benchmark of the competition. So that's the game of the round for me.
Yeah, and I think most teams now will be wanting to play and learn about how to beat North Melbourne. I think they know they cannot win the flag unless they beat North Melbourne. So that should be a really good match, I think. And maybe the weather will even out the game a little bit as well. It's a bit of ugly footy. But you can also watch Sabrina in the Collingwood and the Hawks game. And it's at Vic Park, 12:35 on Saturday. This one for me is really interesting because... Well, sans dog poo, but the Hawks the Hawks last year gave us such a sense that they're going to be so exciting and fast and great brand of footy, and they just haven't done that this year. They've had a couple of scrappy losses. They've not been free flowing. They lose matches that they've lost a match that against a good top side. Are they good? And could Collingwood snag a win here? I think it's a totally winnable game for Collingwood, given how Collingwood's trajectory is going and how Hawthorn have been very much plateaued since last year. So that for me is going to be a really exciting match. And a lucky Pies fan will win a double pass to Collingwood's preliminary final, the men's preliminary final at the W game this weekend. So you could spend $15 to get into the W and win a preliminary final against for Brisbane and Collingwood on Saturday night. So $
15 well spent, I'd say.
I'll go down. I'll be going down. We're going
You
to go
and
and bring my
Google.
dog and clean up his poo.
Well, thank you so much for listening, and thank you to Sabrina Frederick for joining myself earlier on. Please follow AFLW Weekly wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram, get involved. We've had so many lovely DMs from listeners about our conversation with Fev last week. Thank you for your kind words. And we've also had people slide into our DMs or send through emails to our email address, giving us some feedback. We also got some lovely Spotify comments this week too, George. So we love hearing from people that listen. So please keep up the communication. We love hearing from you.